If men were angels, no government would be necessary. If angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary. In framing a government which is to be administered by men over men, the great difficulty lies in this. You must first enable the government to control the governed, and in the next place, oblige it to control itself.
The kind of course of reading all the kind of great works of ancient and modern confederacies. He was a kind of politician who understood that most politicians are not going to be as well prepared as you are. Then you'll really be in a good position, if not to control the outcome of debate, at least to set the agenda.
He arrived with what would later be called the Virginia Plan in hand, and it was the framework from which all of these great men worked that summer. And without it, it's hard to imagine we would have the sort of government we do today.
What Madison and the Virginia Plan do is they say we have to essentially start from scratch. Starting from scratch means we need a whole government. We can't just give a few extra powers to Congress. It has to be able to enact its own laws, to execute its own laws, and to adjudicate its own laws.
Over the 7 weeks of debates, the impassioned delegates wrangled over everything we still argue about today: states' rights versus federal power, and the limits of executive authority. On that issue, Alexander Hamilton shook the House with a radical proposal.
As to the executive, it seems that no good one can be established on Republican principles. The English model is the only good one on this subject. Let one branch of the legislature hold their places for life, or at least during good behavior. Let the executive also be for life.
The delegates sat in stunned silence. Was the Caribbean immigrant actually suggesting a government with a king, based on the British system that they had so recently overthrown?
One of the raps against Hamilton is that he was a hidden monarchist. He was for a strong central government, that's true, but he never wanted an American monarchy. He feared that we might have to have one if our current government collapsed, and he wasn't hopeful about its strength. But he said the Republican experiment is the one we've embarked upon, and we have to give it a fair trial.
As the weeks wore on, the delegates seemed deadlocked. Elder statesman Benjamin Franklin became the voice of reason.
When you assemble a number of men to have the advantage of their joint wisdom, you inevitably assemble with those men all their prejudices, their passions, their errors of opinions, and their selfish views. Thus, I consent to this Constitution because I expect no better, and because I am not sure that it is not the best.
On September 17th, the final draft was presented to the convention delegates.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
As the last members were signing, Benjamin Franklin observed an image of the sun carved on the back of the president's chair.
I have often, in the course of the session, looked at that behind the president without being able to tell whether it was rising or setting. But now at length I have the happiness to know that it is a rising and not a setting sun.
It would be many more months before the dawn itself would break. The Constitution, approved by the delegates, still needed to be ratified by 9 out of 13 very divided states.
The Founding Fathers will return in a moment here on the History Channel.